Hey guys, Colby here. Welcome back to another raid challenge video. We've got the 2x going on right now, and I thought this is the best time to put out a video like this where I go over some of the void champions we have in the game for each faction and just name the one that I think is the best one to have. It can either be a legendary, it can either be an epic, it can even be a rare that I would choose over anything else. Of course, I don't think that rare voids are better than the void legendaries. There's so many good void legendaries in the game, and it's very difficult to name the one I would choose out of a single faction. So come with me for this video. We're gonna go over each faction. We're gonna have a look at the voids there, have some quick thoughts on them, and then decide which one will be the winner. If I had to pick on 14 champions to have on an account, which would they be? Let's get started with the Bannerlords. So the Bannerlords have Raglan, and Baron Raglan is one of the most unique revivers in the game. Have a look at that. Revives an ally with 75% HP and turn meter, 2-turn cooldown when fully booked. You can be reviving. You can revive a champion every 2 turns. This can be insane in the arena and very, very annoying if you don't know how to deal with it. She also has a cleanse. Very solid champion. Then we have the Baron, where Baron recently got changed and made his Skypiercer skill a skill that is always available now and also ignores 50% of the target's defense. This is very, very strong, especially if you are running a team with no defense down. Then that ignore of defense can actually really make the difference. Of course, you need to have the supporting team behind it. So which one of the two would I choose? Let me wait on it a second. Let's have a look at the voids here. We do have Ursula, which I could consider as having in an account instead of the other two, but of course void legendaries have way more power. In terms of being an account changer and providing overall utility, I think that Raglan would provide more than Baron, but Baron has a more immediate effect in terms of having a nuker that will immediately give you that 50% ignore defense. So I think Baron would be the choice. Revivers are not that easy to get in the game until you get maybe Arbiter, but I would say that Baron would make a huge difference in the sense of having a nuker without a defense down. You don't have something that's guaranteed. He's void as well, so he doesn't care about affinity. He will be the one that you use as your nuker and arena farmer as well with the A1. Not arena, campaign farmer as well with the A1. Let's have a look at High Elves. So High Elves becomes a little bit tricky because we now have a choice of very, very strong champions right here. We even have a choice of some of the epics. We do have some rares here, but I of course gonna go on the legendaries. Ethos is fantastic, both campaign farmer and nuker for the arena. Bellanor not so much. Very, very strong on single target, if I remember correctly, even with his A1. So I would say that Arbiter takes the win here, not only because she has a revive skill, she also has the turn meter boost skill, increased attack, she's got the arena lead. She is an MVP really, and everybody still uses Arbiter in one way or another. Even on a seasoned account out there like 3 years old, you'll see an Arbiter running somewhere around with a set or two. It might not be the fastest one, but it still will be the one to go with. So here, this becomes very tricky. Okay, would you go for something that will help you build an unkillable team? Then Sir Nicholas definitely fits that role. He's not as good as some other champions in that sense because he does not have, let's say, a block debuff buff, or he's not as strong as, let's say, Helicath, where that champion actually can build an unkillable team on himself. But Sir Nicholas can definitely help you for clan boss. So I would have to consider that as well as an option. Let's say, okay, is my clan boss options there? He's also available through the token trader, so that's in there too in my head. Okay, I wouldn't be able to get a champion like that that easily. Then if I just go down the list, there's very strong epics here. Shamael for the Hydra, Godseeker for pretty much everywhere, and Cardinal as a great reviver. I would say Godseeker is the best one of the epics for sure, but I wouldn't trade her for something like a Cardiel. Constantine is not even going to be discussed because we got Baron. We are okay with that. Baron definitely wins in terms of the best nuker so far in terms of voids. Cardiel, though, I think is very close with Venus. And I'm not sure which one I would choose on a fresh new account, which is the most game-changing in the sense of just pure potential. It's not easy to tell. There's many champions that apply decreased defense weaken now, and we get Lydia later on. let's say on any account out there. So if it would be a matter of what would change my account immediately and give like a huge burst in terms of difference in clan boss dungeons and all that, that would be Venus. But a consistent champion who would no matter find a place in both arena, clan boss, Doom Tower, Hydra, anywhere, that's Cardiel. I think Cardiel gets the win here for the Sacred Order. I wouldn't give away Cardiel for any of the other three now that I think of it, just because of how good his kit is, and surprisingly is the one I'm missing from this faction on my account. So let's have a look at Barbarians. So Barbarians is very, very different in terms of the other factions. The epics don't do so much. Sky Touch has been pretty much replaced by other champions right now. I would say Tuhanarag is the best one out of the four here, just pure on the insanity that her passive is of clearing 2 random debuffs on allies under continuous heal buff. She's got increased defense, increased speed. She does have a decreased attack and a block buffs debuff on a single enemy, and then does a debuff spread effect. So this is huge in terms of getting that block buffs on all enemies. A huge champion for the Hydra. I would say your Suga is more like an arena champion. Your Carl can be used in many things, but again, outshined by other champions. And then we've got Torvald, who's a great single target champion, but that gets outshined, of course, by the sheer power that Tuhanarag brings to an account in terms of what she opens up your teams in terms of possibilities and what you can do. So if you go to Ogre Tribes, the choice is pretty much Gurgo out of the legendaries, but I wouldn't pick Gurgo. That's why I mentioned epics at the start, because we have Maneater here, who, if I had a choice, I would pick Maneater 100% of the time out of the Ogre Tribes. He can build an unkillable team almost by himself. He does need Painkeeper to help him out, but even if you don't have Painkeeper, you can still do something with Maneater eventually and build a team. He has a very strong turn meter manipulation skill with his A2. A1 then applies a decreased attack to all enemies if the attack is critical. So he's not just the clan boss champion that we all know. I would use Maneater over Gurgo, even though Gurgo has the freeze and the removal of buffs. I still think that Maneater would open up more things for an account rather than a Gurgo. Okay. Let's have a look at Lizardman. So Lizardman, we do have Ramantu, who's always available. So the obvious choice is going to be Krisk, not Chagger. I'm not even going to explain to you guys why Krisk is so good. You can have a look at the passive, the A1, the A2, the A3. All of those together should be like 3 separate champions, but it's in one. And I'm happy enough to have 2 of them. This guy, I just don't understand how strong he is, and I hope they never touch him. Okay, he's an amazing champion, and I only use him for the Hydra, to be fair. But on an account that is fresh, you can literally even have him as a campaign farmer, and he can still do it. Okay, he can still do that if that's what you're missing for some reason. Then we have a look at the Skinwalker. So here you're left with a decision. This is a pretty tough one, actually, because there's many different things that you can decide to do with this choice right here. Are you going to go for Tumizia, who's a great champion for the Spider? Are you going to go with Leorius, who's a great champion for Arena and nuking overall? He can even be used for the clan boss. Very strong nuker, endgame potential. Tumizia can be replaced by pretty much any other HP burn champion. And would you go for a Coronar, who is a very, very strong defensive champion and can be used? I would say Leorius takes the win here because of the alternatives that are available for the other 2. Right here, Leorius is a very strong and unique nuker because of this unkillable passive and the 100% damage boost that he gets, and the ignoring of stun free sleep when this skill is available. So have that in mind. And I don't think you would even consider any of the epics or rares for this faction. We're almost halfway through with the orcs now. So for the orcs, we got Warlord, Raka, which is brand new, almost like a Duchess, but not so much. Duchess is better in my thoughts, and Angar. Then we have the Void. We've got Seer, who's like an MVP, and it's pretty much between Seer and Warlord. Okay, there's very obvious things that both of them do. Warlord is very unique in the lockout that he does. Seer is very unique in the burst that she does to help you clear through the waves. What Seer does though is she enables the end game teams, but you need a lot of gear and a lot of support. You don't reach the point where you're gonna find Seer useful until much later on, when you have a better understanding of both building a team, equipping her with the right sets, and even having enough of that crit damage gear to give her, and the buff setup, of course, as well. Well, Warlord is a pretty much a click and go champion. You don't need much to make him work. You can even use him just as a buffer, but with some accuracy, he can even extend the duration of all debuffs on the target by 1 turn. So you can use him on clan boss, you can use him anywhere that you need the block debuffs buff. And then you can also use him in the arena, which is where he's mostly used at the moment. So I would say Warlord takes the win right there for the orcs. And that might have been an obvious one, guys, but I needed to clear things out with Seer for sure. Then we have the Demon Spawn, where the Void Legos are not so much. Krutraxa is a single target champion as a nuker. Then we have a Nithwe, who is an AoE nuker who does have a block revive. Enemies killed by this champion cannot be revived. Both of these champions were outshined pretty early in the life of the game, at least when I played it. They never saw real action. Maybe Krutraxa saw a little bit more than in Nithwe. Then let's have a look at the epics. We've got Umbral, Paidma, Skimfos. Umbral is a great lockout champion. Paidma is solid for the decrease attack. Again, outshined. And then we have Felhan, who is just a campaign farmer, really, and helps out a little bit with Fire Knight. So out of these, again, I wouldn't force myself over going into the legendaries here. I would probably pick Umbral because of that lockout, which is very strong. A 2-turn provoke on all enemies, a block buffs that on all enemies. She's a void as well, can be very useful even for the Hydra. So that would be a decision I would take pretty much 100% of the time. Then we have, I would think, a pretty interesting choice here. We have Necred, who's an arena god, okay, always used in arena. Siphi, again, very strong in arena. Urost for the Doom Tower. That's not really a choice. Little Annie and Vlad are just left behind. We don't have any Void epics. And we've got some Void rares here. But out of all these, I would say then Siphi is the right choice. It's pretty obvious on why you would take Siphi here for the win. She's got a speed boost, block buffs, revive with full turn meter. She also has a guaranteed sleep debuff on her A1 if you target an enemy with above 50% turn meter. She's got a great passive. Great lead as well. For sure the best Void in the game, alongside Krisk, I would say. Then have a look at Dark Elves. Dark Elves, I would say Mithrala and Lydia are easily taken out of the equation. And Visix, I would say. So it's pretty much blind seer. These 3 champions are available to everybody. Okay, so these you cannot consider as MVPs. Of course, if I needed to vote on them, on who's the best, I would say Lydia is better than Mithrala. And the reason for this is that Mithrala does have a very unique kit, very strong kit. But Lydia opens up so many different things. Block buffs, poison sensitivity, defense down, weaken, buffs, a revive denial as well. And of course, a great arena lead. Well, Mithrala does have her own, strengths. I would say Lydia takes the win here. But out of everything here, if I had to choose something that would take the win, if I get locked out of everything, it's really a tough choice here. If I get locked out of everything, I think the best one of them all, of course, is Lydia. But I'm even looking at the rares. Not talking about Paragon, not talking about Painkeeper, although great, would work with Maneater for the clan boss. Overall, as the best one for this in terms of voids, stuck between Lydia and I would say Madame is fantastic as well. Sylar, this is the hardest decision so far. So I don't know who I would give it to. Coldheart is also very unique in what she can do for dungeons. She can really make the difference in many of the dungeons. But we'll see the reason why I'm not picking her. I would say Sylar out of the epics is very strong as well. Madame is very annoying. I would say Madame takes the win here. out of the epics, and I would give it to Lydia and Madame. They're so good, and I have to give a win as well to the epics here. So I can't give the win just to one of the legendaries. And then let's have a look at Night Revenant. So Night Revenant got Soulless, Hegemon, and Whirlim. Hegemon is fantastic in the sense that he's so unique, where he always takes a turn first. Very strong passive right here. Fateful Arrival. This allows him to either be a control champion or a nuke champion, depending on how you build him. Control, because he has block active skills and a decreased attack, plus a stun set on him, would allow you to stun targets at an 18% chance, or 23 if you got the masteries. And then we got Soulless as well, who's a defensive-based nuker, means he survives better than others. And he also does a lot of damage with that big A3 skill. So have that in mind. And then we'll go down the list a little bit. I don't think the epics here are even worthy of taking note. Renegade's a great rare. I would keep it on any account. Skullcrown as well. Like, I would keep these champions, but for these, the one that takes the win, I would say it's Soulless, just because of how much he does. He has a provoke, he has a buff steal, he has lots of things in his kit, a stun on the A1. So with some accuracy, he really opens up the utility that he provides. While Hegemon, you won't see him that much outside the arena, but Soulless does have a place. Then for dwarves, now this is why I didn't really mention about Cold Heart. So let's say you have a clear pick of all the voids in the game. Of course, Acrisia takes the win here. I will not even question Demitha here. Demitha is great for clan boss and stuff, but other than that, she's not that amazing. Acrisia, though, #1 void legendary in many of the players out there's wish list. She is such a huge champion. I would for sure use her in all content, and I am using her for the Hydra at the moment, having a lot of fun with her and testing out teams where I can utilize her potential to the greatest. And she also has like a big turn meter manipulation skill right here, which is like having a Cold Heart basically. All right, this skill right here doesn't hit on the single hit as much as a Cold Heart, I would say, but the two hits together do a lot of damage. And then finally for Shadowkin, which void takes the win here? I'm torn here. I'm torn between Riho and Yumeko. Riho is very strong in terms of single target, and then Yumeko is very unique in terms of she's like a mini warlord, a mini Prince Kaimar. So I would say Yumeko has found more use in my teams rather than Riho. So I will give it to Yumeko. Very strong accuracy lead as well, and an A1 that can also steal turn meter definitely is useful to consider. So overall, solid champions throughout, I think, for my pick so far. Would you have picked a different champion, and why? Leave it down in the comments down below, guys. I always want to see your comments there and see some interaction. I'm not saying those are the best ones, but I think these are for sure the best ones I would consider if I had to pick out of 14 factions, 14 champions to pick and put them in the bowl of a brand new account and use it in everything. I think those 14 champions would work together the best. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.